I've spent probably about £600 on my setup, but that's £600 to run a business.
Yeah.
Then I have got exposure to the whole world, talking about whatever I want. There's no reason why anybody can't have a podcast on anything. Hi, and welcome to the Mindset and Marketing Podcast. My name is Matthew Toman, and I am your co-host for today's show, joined with
Sharon Kirkpatrick.
On the Mindset and Marketing Podcast, we focus on everything mindset and everything marketing, two of the most important things that you must master to achieve everything that you set out to in life, from my opinion. So how's your week been?
It's been good, so it has. I had lots of fun things this week. I was out in Belfast, tried a new restaurant, Saga, for my friend's birthday. It was beaut. It kind of reminds you a bit of the Waterman House vibes, that kind of food.
Yeah. Where is it?
It's up Stranmillis. It used to be Blank.
Okay. I never really hung out in Stranmillis that much, actually.
I know, well, there's not much up there now. Everyone's down in Cathedral Quarter, That's probably why, to be fair.
I can remember whenever I lived in Belfast in 2010, everybody said they're going to redevelop the Cathedral Quarter, and it was the most derelict area of any city. It was crazy to even think how busy it is now.
I know. That's where you always head to now, because that's where all the live music is, But I had that, and then I had my nephew Edison's 7th birthday the next day, So that was fun.
Happy birthday, Edison.
I know, happy birthday, wee man. And then we took Edison to his first gig in Belfast on the Monday. So it's been flat out. And then obviously in between that, lots of filming happening today in the Bankhouse media world. So it's just been navigating all of that, which is good. And lots of new exciting projects. So I've had a good wee mix of things.
Yeah, I actually done a podcast with Seamus.
Cheating on me.
I know. Well, I'm going to be doing loads of podcasts, actually. So I ended up doing a podcast the other day with Seamus. And what's Seamus's business name? Seamus is
it's Seamus Fox.
Seamus Fox.
That's a business name.
But we're working with him on brand and stuff. But I ended up doing his podcast the other day. And it was funny because he was asking me, how did you start off with Bankhouse and what was it doing? And it's funny, I was saying, do you know what? This week we are doing more video. We're doing as much video this week as we did back in 2014, whenever it was just video. It's funny because I shoot everything now on my phone, just on the road. But it was funny that it's funny you say about the video, because I was saying to him, God, it's so weird because we're flat out on video still,
I know.
Yes.
I love video, I love websites, but it's good having that variety, So
yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's kind of... We had a little bit of a, you're not going to miss this, we had a little bit of a storm that came our way, Mr. Storm Ernest. Nothing earnest about him. So we've been navigating that fun.
Well, I tell you what happened to me. I was in the studio setting up, right? And there's loads of TVs and loads of different things around. I've been trying to just find my feet, and everything kind of rattles, like a TV as if you shook it. End up having an earthquake, 4.7. Right? Now, yeah, over 5 is where actual damage happens.
Gee.
I'm on the top floor, right? I was grabbing onto the wall. I was like, what is happening? I didn't even realize the whole wall was flipping, shaking. The whole building was shaking. I was like, oh my God, it scared the crap out of me. I've experienced several earthquakes over the years in LA. But this was that I've never had one that shook my whole apartment as much, especially whenever I'm so high up.
That's a bit scary. I've never ever experienced an earthquake, and hopefully, touch wood, don't.
4.7 it was. So it was definitely crazy, But no, I've had a great week as well. I've had got my first week over me in LA. I'm into my second week now, so just getting all my shopping in. Signed up to Equinox, been in the pool swimming, going to yoga class later. I've been sort of holding off from going to this gym for so long because it's expensive, and I love my gym in Hollywood because it's got really, really big windows all around it, and it had just been refurbed. So it was a brand new gym It had parking outside it. It was great. So I didn't feel the need to go anywhere else. But all last week I tested all these gyms all around me, and I was like, do you want to know what? I don't want to go to any of them. So I've ended, because I'm not an Equinox, and there's like 97 or something classes a week. So I'm doing yoga, swimming. It's brilliant. I'm so excited about getting stuck in. I know, so it's great. So I'm doing that.
I seen your video of the pool, and I was like, there he is, back swimming. I love it.
Oh yeah, no. So I'm going to be swimming like 4 times a week. You know, I was thinking about getting like an online swimming coach. I reached out to one of my friends who is a swimming coach, and just to see if he could do me up a program, you know, just to keep me accountable.
Yeah, but you can definitely tell you used to be a swimmer, you know, with the technique that you're using there. If I took a video of me swimming, it would not look anywhere near as smooth as that one did.
It might go
It would
viral,
actually, it would look like I was drowning, but I'm able to stay afloat. But yeah,
yeah,
well
that's
done.
good.
So
yeah,
you're,
so it's been,
are you all settled then? Like, does it take a wee minute to get in?
It does, because do you want to know what? It's a brand new area. I have never lived in this area before. I never wanted to live in this area. I just thought it was too quiet and too out of the way. Oh my God, it is brilliant. Everybody around me is lovely. And I know this sounds weird, but because I lived in West Hollywood before, my gym was in Hollywood, I seen homeless people every single day, right? Because Hollywood is like, it's crazy how many people live homeless. Where I'm at the minute, you don't see anybody that's really homeless, and it's that weird thing where it's like out of sight, out of mind. Is that a bad thing? Do you know what I mean? But it's like, whenever I drive past a tent or I drive past somebody with a trolley or walking down, like, I instantly feel bad.
Yeah.
Right? I feel sorry for them. Like, in that moment, you're just like, oh my God, that I feel sorry for them. And it's so weird because one of my friends I went for dinner with, she lives around the corner from me, and she said, you know, there's no homeless people or anything over here. And I said, God, I hadn't even noticed. But now that you say it, it does. I think it does make a difference, to be honest. And
it
also
has to, because, you know, we're human, and we don't want people to be suffering, and we don't want people to be having a hard time. So if you're seeing that, you know, it's going to impact you on that, you know.
But whenever you live in Hollywood, because you see it every single corner or every single street, you become desensitized to it. And it's just like, that's where they live. So I don't know, it's weird. But I'm beside Venice Beach, so I'm on the beach every day. I was down with Anne yesterday, my friend Anne Wild, Chef Anne. We went for a walk and dipped into the water, and it was lovely. But the sun here is very powerful. It is extremely powerful. Like, if I'm out for like 2 hours in the sun, I have to come home and lie down.
Oh, first world problems.
I know, it's great. It's exactly what I asked for, though, so it's all good.
Actually, see, before we jump into the topic, I just need to say one thing.
Yep.
So obviously, anyone out there who's listening, thank you for holding me accountable, because I actually signed up to the gym. Do you remember last week I said I was going to?
Did you?
No,
did you?
Haven't been yet.
Yeah.
But step one is signing up, right?
You should go into ChatGPT and just give all your details about just your fitness experience so far, and ask them to do you out a program.
Well, I'm just gonna go. I'm going to start with what I'm used to first, you know, just the cardio stuff, just to get me into the routine of going. And then I'll book in like an induction too. And then maybe they can we have loads of clients who could help us.
Oh, like, I'm telling you now, I spent yesterday with Anne. She's got like a full blown carved out 6-pack. She's 51, right? And I mean, I've never actually seen a more sculpted 6-pack in my life. I was like, what? Look at the shape you're in. I could not believe it. I was there like this here, you know, putting me to shame. Yeah, but she's doing me out a meal plan and sorting out my menu stuff, because she's a chef. She's a celebrity chef. She works with Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Flea, like loads of different people. She's so talented. She's amazing. I love her. She's great.
Are you allowed to say their names though?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Okay, cool. We'll find out.
I said to her if she better get a testimonial for them for her website, you know.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh no, like Brad Pitt absolutely love. Every time he's in LA, he's vegan, you see, and she specializes in vegan food. Margot Robbie, she's outside the city right now, but she'll be back working with Margot again. So, I mean, yeah, no, I think it's common knowledge. She works with other ones, you know. I'll maybe not say them.
class, welfare plan, and your six pack. That'll be me. No, it won't, because I won't have the
Well,
doing the workout is one thing, but I can't
she'll want
eat.
you to do she'll want you to do weight training. It's the best thing to do. Yeah,
Well,
and
look, one step at a time.
yeah, perfect. So let's jump in. What's today's podcast about?
Today's podcast is about podcasts. So
Okay.
it's basically podcast being like a game changer for your business. So obviously we're doing that right now. This is part of our kind of marketing strategy. So just wanted to kind of talk through some stats around that, ways in which it can benefit businesses, and then some tips for kind of getting started and how to set it all up, just so that people out there, because obviously we all know we're doing this now, and there's millions of podcasts out there now, and it's a growing trend, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And I think, just like us at the start, well, not so much you, because I know you had the pod before, but even for me, a bit apprehensive about it, bit unsure, a bit kind of like, one, is it going to work? Two, can I even talk for that long? Three, is anyone going to care or be interested? So just want to like kind of cover that in general, just so that people know that, it is an option for them if you're a business owner, and why you should really start considering it now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I've always been jumping on like any sort of medium, whether it's getting on video. I got on video years ago as well. I don't have an insanely huge following. I don't have the ego to actually push for it either. Tagging people, sharing things. Like I like paid traffic. It's kind of handy. I like affiliate traffic, but putting yourself out there, people can think, oh, like that means that I have to have like 10,000 views or 10,000 listens, or you see people saying we got 1 million downloads or any of these things. So a lot of like, it not getting any viewers or listenership can throw people off as well and make them think that like why would they do it? Because no one's going to listen.
Yeah, and that is an interesting one as well, because, whenever there's ways, so say you don't really have many kind of followers or whatever, but you know your niche, you know your industry, and you can get in front of the camera, then maybe thinking about a podcast where you feature guests rather than just you, or rather than one of your team members, because you can get guests on that are, within that industry, or that your customer kind of would watch or listen to, and they have the followers, and then they share it, and then they bring your audiences into you. That's one of the ways in which, so it's not just all about kind of you and your views. It's also kind of getting, those shares and a wider reach by people kind of even just mentioning or tagging you.
Oh yeah, like I mean, that's how I started my podcast off. So in lockdown, I started the Evolution of Success podcast, and I decided I'm going to have a top guest on every day for the next 12 days, right? Every day. Like I decided that I was going to have a podcast on, and I mean, I had Jack Canfield on there, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I had Joe Vitale on there. I had Pat Devley on there, Natalie Ledwell. And for 12 days, I had these high-level guests, right, that were coming in from America, Ireland, England, and I put myself under so much pressure. By the end of it, I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore, and I've only got 14 episodes, I think, on that actual podcast. I burnt myself out, where I could have, see, if I had to put them out 1 week at a time, I would have had like 3 months content.
I know.
And just and actually batched another 3 months and went on. And then I started the Bankhouse Media podcast and had like loads of guests on that were our clients and very localized, because I thought that was great. And now we've progressed into the Mindset and Marketing podcast, and I think it's great because we can actually just talk about actual topics like this, and someone can listen to it and say, okay, well, what are the different types of podcasts that I can do? And don't be afraid of shifting and changing it. Don't be afraid of saying, this didn't really work. I didn't like it. I couldn't get the guests, or I want a co-host vibe. There's so many different ones. Don't be afraid to change and shift it.
Yeah, and you probably know, like yourself, from listening to podcasts, that they do change, at the start, especially if it's the beginning of one. They kind of find the rhythm, and then they kind of look and see what people are engaging with and not, and then they'll swap it out a bit, So there's no problems with that. And we'll get into just some tips for people who are thinking about it and are ready to now take that leap. Before we do that, here are some stats, because you know the way I love a wee stat. 71% of people in the UK listen to podcasts now, and that, by the way, is up 24% from last year. So that's going to and that's a huge number. So that's just going to grow and grow. Now, what that means is that people are listening to that, the majority of the population. And why is that important to you? Because you need to find out where your customers are and what they're doing and how to get in front of them. So if that many people are listening to it, then I'm pretty sure your customers are going to be listening. You know, that's kind of the vibe there. So it's just explaining like the reach. It's always, marketing's always about getting in front of your customer. So most people now are listening to podcasts. So that's number one. Another one is 63% of people have bought something a host promoted on their show. So again, why is that important? Because it's just showing you one of the things, and we'll talk about the benefits in a minute, of a podcast is it's a bit more relatable, you know, because it's a bit more casual. You get to know people more, you get to know brands more. So there is an element of kind of higher, the trust in that content is higher because, you know, the customer listening is getting a good feel for you and your business. So then with that stat, you have an ability to promote, you know, your services, and people are more inclined to buy and pay from people based on this type of content because you're building trust with them. One other one, because I don't want to bombard us with stats, but another one is that now I know that these guys are big players, but you know how much Joe Rogan reportedly makes on his podcast, like just his podcast, from his podcast.
I think he done a deal for like 800 million with Spotify at one point.
Yeah, well, it's saying here 16 million.
Oh yeah,
on his podcast, you know, so there's probably a million other things.
No, I think he done like an exclusive rights thing with like, I don't know how much it was, maybe it was 20. I don't know, but he makes so much money. Tim Ferriss as well. Look, they all do. Dario, the CEO, has amazing guests, even though it's like, you know, reading through the people who've been on the Dario, the CEO would look like it looks insane because every single guest, every single title seemed to contradict the other one. Lose fat by not eating carbs. Lose fat by eating carbs. You know, it's you know, I think that he's went nuts on bringing people on. I would say people probably pay to go on there, and it's probably quite lucrative for him. I know that he pays other people as well, even though he says he doesn't. I know someone who has been paid by him. But whenever it comes to your business, you can actually piggyback off somebody with a really big following and stuff like that as well. Look, I mean, Joe Rogan just sits and does podcasts every day, and they're really long form chats. I listen to some of them.
I know, and the thing is, now I know he is a big brand now, right? But at the same time, it's him, you know, so it's not a case of only big, huge 100 employee plus businesses should be doing podcasts. You know, you can make a really successful podcast on your own and grow it. Like I know you and I, we both listen to My Therapist Ghosted Me, and it's like a comic kind of podcast of the two comedians in Ireland. And like at the start they were kind of doing it as they were trying to build it up, and now that's like one of the biggest kind of earners for them. They see that as their job. That's their job now, their podcast. You know,
well they took that on the road, and we went to the live shows as well. I haven't been listening to it though, really. I must jump back in and actually listen.
Oh, you should, because it's just anyone who doesn't listen to it now. I will admit, you sent it to me years ago, and I was like, no, I can't stand it. I couldn't listen to the voices at the start. And then I tried again, and it's just so funny, just for a bit of lighthearted crack, you know. Oh
yeah, no, it is funny, like definitely. I haven't. What have I been listening to? I listened to Rich Roll's podcast. He's amazing. He's a music producer, and I've been listening to loads of just different random stuff. While I've been out here, you know, and music a lot more actually.
I love Brené Brown, so that's a good podcast listen as well if you want some inspiration and some advice. I love her. So
she's good.
I mean, there's and then mostly we also listen to true crime, but we'll not get into those recommendations.
I love a bit of true crime. Like I love listening to true crime. I'm listening to one. I had to turn off your woman's Nicole. What do you call her?
Oh,
Naomi.
Naomi
Naomi. She
Channel.
done like another. She done like another podcast with somebody following this other really bad guy who had ended up passing away. I couldn't even turn. I had to turn it off halfway through. Like I think there's 8 episodes. I only could get to episode 3. It was so depressing.
Oh,
I couldn't do
no,
it.
Naomi.
I don't know if it was
Although,
like the sun that was shining so much, and I was just like loving life.
yeah,
To the point
probably.
where I was like, I can't actually do this, you know. So it had a part of that. But podcasts is look. I mean, if when there's times that no one listened to my podcast on a week, I still got up and done it. You know what I mean? And there's people that listen to it every week, and there's people, and you know, for the information that I want to share or for the businesses I want to grow, I don't need 1 million people to listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, if I had 1 million people listen to it and converted 4%, my business would be overwhelmed. Or converted 1% even, my business would be overwhelmed. I wouldn't be able to cope. So the way that it's so perfect because I get an opportunity to chat to you. I get an opportunity to talk about some of the experiences we've had. I talk about some of the clients that we have. And it is really good. Now, I actually recorded a Spotify radio ad, which I'm going to put on Spotify and iTunes and everything like that for America for our business, which I'm going to start advertising out here. But I've recorded 2 yesterday. They're going to go live today. I'm actually setting them up myself. Want to learn how to do it. So there's many different ways of like putting your stuff onto these podcast platforms, even with an audio ad.
I know, and you know, whenever you talk about views, right? So that kind of leads us nicely into the benefits because it's not just about how many people are listening. You know, there are so many benefits to creating a podcast, and one of them being, and we'll get into the rest, but one of them being the fact that once people find it hard, right, to show up all the time on their socials and to kind of create content all the time. But if you've created your, say, 20 to 40 minute podcast, that's your podcast, right? But then you take the content from your podcast and repurpose it. So that gives you your reels for your social media channel. So that's your content there done. You can transcribe it using AI to become a blog post or a newsletter. Like you're getting all this content. That's your marketing content and it just goes out. So by doing one thing, the podcast, you've got the rest of that content for you.
I know, and do you want to know what? I always say to the guys, you know, every single business out there needs us, right? Every single business in the world needs us, so we're in a very fortunate position. And I always tag onto the end of it, including us, including Bankhouse, because nobody ever has all of their marketing nailed, including us, and we're a digital marketing agency. We should be doing way more with the content that we have, you know, creating it into a blog, getting it shared on LinkedIn, having all of the audios cut up. I'm just engaging with someone now I'm doing a deal with somebody to add it up more of our reels, just it does reels. I'm trying to get it nailed at the minute, and I might talk to somebody about turning them into blog posts, you know, just to start getting them out there more and doing more with it. We do share it. We get views on YouTube. We get listens on Spotify and iTunes. But even there's times I look at it and I'm like, we should be doing more, you know, with it because I do think the content is so valuable that is there. Yeah.
And the thing is, there's loads of apps out there as well, right, that you can use in your business to cut all them reels down. Now, we can't really use that because we're a marketing agency, so we obviously need to, you know, ours needs to be like high level content that's going out. Otherwise, that's going to reflect badly on, you know, the work that we do for clients. They'll think that is that what they're doing. So, but for other businesses out there who aren't necessarily in the kind of marketing online digital industry, you know, you can use those apps. Like you pay £15
Captions
or
is
something.
unreal.
Yeah.
Captions is unreal. I actually use it whenever any of the reels that you see me posting on my social media stories. I've just done them myself in captions, you know, and they work and they get engagement and people click through and they listen to it. So it definitely is something that you should be doing, you know, more of.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, forget about anything else, like creating all of your content for the week or the month through that, you know, podcast is an immediate benefit.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones is like we already kind of touched on it a wee bit there. Like people find, and we struggle with this too. Sometimes when you're creating social media content about, services or whatever, sometimes you can find it hard to, because you're a professional. You're in the you want to appear professional at all times, and sometimes then it's hard on your socials or on your website to bring in your personality, the fun side of you. Like there are wee ways you can do it, but it's hard to kind of really capture that all of the time. And that's another benefit of these podcasts for us,
Yeah.
because we want our professional and our social channels to, look, our website and our social channels to look professional, but we also, want people to get to know us. So that's
it's
kind
like
of how we do this.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I would even edge more towards like roughing it up a little. Do you think I should post that video I sent you last week?
Yeah.
Maybe will. What was I going to say to you? I actually had something on my mind I was going to say. Yeah, it's just about like once you sort of make that piece of content, there's so much that bits that you can chop down and do it. And just on that note, I know that I want to be doing more for us. One of the most frustrating things for me all the time, and it is like because we put so much effort into our client work, our clients' work's always flying everywhere, and I'm like, why does ours not look like that? But it's because like obviously client work comes first, and we're always so flipping busy. Do you know what I mean? That's why I've found like someone else that I'm gonna say like, can you like I'm negotiating with on price here to almost like use just someone. This guy's amazing. We use him for our client stuff as well. But he just does TikTok reels, and I think they're great. And I'm like, do you want to know what if I give you all these links and you just cut 4 of them out of each one, because, and it's all very accessible. We shoot all of these on our mobile phones. I have this mic. Okay, I'm in a studio right now, but there's times I've shot them on the airport. There's times I've shot them in my car, and don't think you have to do video. We do video, right? One of the reasons why I want to do video is because the best way to rank on Google for SEO is using YouTube. So if you put my name, Matthew Toman, into Google and you go to like page 15, right? 1 through, like, I don't know how far you can go, you will see something of me, because every single thumbnail is tagged with my name on it. Every single video is tagged with my name on it, and they're tagged all through, which you can get through to like Bankhouse. So if you start to Google certain different topics, over time, that will just keep building and building and building. And then you become then the person that shows up on Google because you put in so much work on it. And all we're doing is 1 podcast a week. It's not difficult. We get to catch up for 45 minutes to 60 minutes. And then it takes like probably about 30 minutes for it to be like synced up and cut together. And if you didn't even do that, because you don't have to have video, you can also put audio only on YouTube and just with a thumbnail. So I swear by it for SEO, and what I want to do, linking them all together, is I've got a like strategy for doing that, where I'll have the Bankhouse Media site with all of the videos embedded on there, which are linked in through all of our names. So it's just about building it out slowly but surely.
Yeah, that's one of the other benefits, is the improving your reach. One through, we talked about there, if you have guests on, and if you get a guest on, the chances are they're going to share that podcast episode as well. So you're expanding the reach, and you normally get guests that are kind of within your niche. But the other one that you've just touched on there is your SEO. So if you're creating that content every week, and you're putting that up on those channels, you, like Matthew said, you will then, Google's going to kind of reward you for that, and you're going to start appearing more frequently for the terms that you are talking about and that you're tagging. So people always come into Bankhouse Media and say to us, how do we get in the first page of Google? That's one of the ways you do that, by creating content like this, and being frequent about it, and then just making sure you put in all of the descriptions correctly. Don't just post the video.
There's a formula to it, right? So there's a formula to it where, like, for example, I said to my SEO guy who works for us, hey, I want Sharon ranking, make sure that Sharon starts to rank, and then they can change it where it's like, even whenever I can upload them myself, I never upload them, by the way. I've done it like twice or 3 times, but I know how to do it with like naming I know how to change the video name or the thumbnail name into the what I wanted to register as for on Google. So that will come up whenever someone Googles me, where the image might say like 13694214651 dot something. That means nothing. That's never ever 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 going to be directed back to you, right? But if you change the name of that thumbnail to like Matthew Toman, Sharon Kirkpatrick, if you Google one of us, pretty much within hours, 24, maybe 36, that image will come up.
Yeah, and just in case that was a bit confusing, so whenever you kind of have you take a photo or a video on your phone or whatever, it saves, but it just saves it as a random generic file name, like a list of numbers. So Matthew's just saying there, change the name of that to what you want to be found for, so your name.
But also, yeah.
And your name, and then what the
Bankhouse
podcast
Media
is about, and your company name, just thinking about what people are searching for. Those are the things that you have to do. If you put your video up and you don't do that work and you don't fill in a description and put all the hashtags in, you're kind of wasting your time a bit. So that's kind of one of the tips that we're going to get to. But yeah, 100%. But that again, back to, that's another way to improve. Like, customers are searching for things, so you want to come up whenever they're searching for that. So creating this content fresh every week is what Google wants. So that's why it helps improve your SEO, and which then gets you more exposure.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing is as well, just to mention, like, it can seem overwhelming, but it really isn't once you get the first one over you. Another big benefit is you can do this for practically nothing.
Oh,
like it's
free.
one of the most cost-effective ways to just get yourself out there, be relatable, and increase your search volume.
You can do it on your phone. Spotify is free and uploads it onto Spotify. This platform we used to use, I forget what it was called, but Spotify bought Podbean. Spotify bought that. So even whenever we used to log into Podbean, then it was able to put it onto all the platforms, straight away. Like, it went onto all iTunes and all that kind of stuff, which it still does. But Spotify bought that, and it still kept it where you put it up onto iTunes and everything. It's free. You just log in, set up an account. As I said, I'm logging in this afternoon to set up ads, because I want to learn that side of things with ads and just sort of test that. Because, a good engaging ad on Spotify, listen to it. I do. I definitely do. Out of all, like, YouTube, I'm sitting like that, ready to like hit the button to skip ad because I don't want to know. But I find that on Spotify, I listen more. Like, an ad came up the other day, and I was like, God, I'm going to buy that. And I was like, why the hell am I not on there? Why is our business not on there? And for $1,000, which I was going through yesterday, you can get in front of 50,000 people. That's insane.
And I'd say that's going to change in the end, right? But for now, the way, like, which is amazing, so strike now, because on YouTube, if you're watching something or whatever, or it comes up at the start, skip ad, and then you can just skip it. Now then you go, if you watch for long enough, you might get another ad, but mostly you just skip ad at the start, wait for 5 seconds. Whereas when you're on Spotify or whatever, it doesn't come up skip ad. You have to and you're like, oh,
you're on your AirPods and you're like, get past this. You're trying to skip it on your watch.
Fast forward, and then you've went too far, so you go back and you're just like, I'll just listen to it.
And obviously we're what the ad is around. I'll share it on my socials. What the ad is around is sales funnels and websites. That's going to go in front of every business podcast.
Yeah.
So I'll be putting that in front of every business podcast and just 100%. Blasting, just to see how it goes,
Yeah. So I think, like, honestly, they're kind of, there's loads of benefits, but they're kind of the top ones. You're getting better SEO, you're getting better reach, you're being more relatable, you're getting repurposed content that you can just share. So half your marketing's done. So give it a go. Now, before we just want to give some tips then for that, which we've mentioned some of them already. So for people out there who are thinking about starting a podcast, here some kind of top tips. Number one is kind of think about, obviously it sounds silly, but do think about your customer and what it is that they would want to hear. And the reason I say that is because if we're using it to try and grow our business, we want to make sure they're interested in that, what you're saying, obviously. But we also want to make sure then that whenever you are uploading it and putting all those keywords in, that you're being found for the right things, so just take a moment to think about who your customer is, who's going to be listening, and kind of create content around, what it is that they want to hear. Another big one when you're thinking about that, and it can change, but just at the start, so you have it in your head, there's loads of different types of podcasts out there. There's like educational ones, there's entertaining, like funny ones, there's inspirational ones, all about like a bit like we're a bit of both, inspiration and educational. There's true crime, whatever it is, right? Think about how the tone of what you want your podcast to be. So are you going to go in with humor? Because that's fine. Are you leading with that? Or are you leading with, I want people to be inspired here, or I want to educate them, give them tips that they can take away? None of them are wrong, but just figure out which it is, that what route you think your client would most engage with. And just have those in your head whenever you're starting to create content. Because the last thing you want to do is start a comedy podcast if it's about something super serious and your clients won't find that funny. You're going to immediately cause a bit of a problem. And also oh yeah,
some podcasts are going to get way more viewers. Don't be just going, but like if you want to have loads and loads and loads of views, open a gossip podcast talking about everything that's happening in the Daily Mail. Take the top articles over the past while and realize what people are clicking on, what people are watching on. Start talking about that. You're going to get loads and loads of views. But is that going to be able to be monetized for you? Think about what is going to be able to be monetized, and it all starts with your offering. Okay, what is my offering? What is the main problems that people have? How can I then talk about these topics and help people then change it?
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the other things is as well, whenever, just on that note, like say you want to create a funny podcast, like you want it to be like in the realms of comedy, are you actually funny? Don't start this if like you're, you don't have that. Think about yourself and your own kind of, what are you comfortable, how are you comfortable showing up every day? Because if you're not comfortable, that's gonna reflect. That could be quite a problem. But kind of once you've got all that, the structure of a podcast, for like you would know by now if you're listening to this, is you have like a brief intro, then you do your main content, which is what we're doing now. So Matthew and I, when we're doing this, our intro is catch up, how's your week, Then we get into the main content, and then at the end you have an outro, and it can just be a simple thanks for listening, tune in next time, or it can be actionable steps or whatever. So that's kind of the structure for your podcast episode. So then all you really have to do is think about what your podcast episodes could be, and if they include guests, who those guests could be.
And some people have solo podcasts. I've done solos myself as well. What I've done to help me with doing solo podcasts, which actually they can be really engaging. Alex Hermosi's is all solo and he pumps them out nonstop. I work with like just questions. I get either questions written just by myself, like that are just going to prompt me. Sometimes I'll put out my socials. Anybody got any questions around this? And I'll maybe get a few there. And then I just literally sit down in front of the camera and go like, okay, here's what it was like to stop drinking. Here's what it was like to do this. Here's what it was like to do that. So yeah, you can do solos as well.
Yeah, 100%. One to also think about is just because there's, some podcasts are a few minutes, 10 minutes, some are 20 minutes, some are an hour, some are longer than an hour, like you said about Joe Rogan. So kind of think about that in terms of, what you're going to be, and when you're mapping out your episode, just how you're going to be able to talk for that long. Like you think you won't, but you do. You end up just, like we said, ours is going to be 20 minutes, and then ours is always around 45.
I know, yeah. Well,
so just to prepare yourself.
Yeah, prepare yourself, but just go with the flow and see, because I also, had thought about, just because I've got the studio here, just creating a load of like 5 to 7 minute, ones as well, just to have gone out like midweek, and I've also thought about, because I've still got the Evolution of Success podcast, I've also thought about, should I start engaging with guests and bring on another one just that's around mindset, because I've got the studio. So you can have multiples, even when if you look at Joanne and Vogue, who actually have, I think Vogue has one with her husband, Spencer. Then she has one with Boots, and now she's just opening another one. Joanne has one main one, and then she's had one with BBC where she was finding like Avril Lavigne, and now she's doing another one with BBC Sounds. And so you can have multiple podcasts. Sharon, you could have one on, I don't know, so whatever you're interested in your personal life. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to label you there in any way, but
no,
you could do one.
I was wondering what you were going to say there.
Well, you went to that. Well, what I was thinking was you went to that live podcast, which I know you didn't really dig, the feminist one in London.
Oh yeah, the Guilty Feminist. I used to love that, but it got so serious.
Yeah.
She was making valid points, but it got too intense. It started real fun, and then it changed.
Where you could end up having a podcast like that, fun. You know what I mean? On your own, in your side time, like how to do it now. There's no reason why anybody can't have a podcast on anything. Do you know?
What about I do one that's just called, the Cool Aunt?
Yeah, you could do, yeah. Being an auntie,
The benefits of being like an aunt instead of a mum.
Handing them back. It's like, see you later.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yeah, no, that's good. Getting the kids handed back. Look, the point we're trying to make is you can do it anywhere. It's very easy to do. There's some. Have you got any equipment list there? Have you got anything like that? Are you talking about that?
I was going to go into that, yes, but just before, I just wanted to say one other thing, because that was going to be the final thing, so people have it fresh in their head what they need to go and buy. But was one of the big things is being consistent. So like Matthew, you'd said earlier, like trying to do one a day forever is going to be hard. Doing one once a week is probably what's expected. In terms of what listeners really want.
See, when I done the Evolution of Success one, people were messaging me whenever it was late, like, is it coming out today? Like, I had never had, like, people have still messaged me about that and said, like, are you ever going to bring that back? I still listen to some of those episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I wasn't able to be consistent, so now I've set it, like, where it's once a week, and it's really, we've got the flow down.
Yeah, so that was all I kind of wanted to say there.
But also, don't be too hard on yourself. We took 2 weeks off there, and we needed it. We needed it for like to put into work. We needed maybe to break ourselves. Joanne and Vogue always have breaks. Like, people do have breaks. Naomi has a few breaks every now and again. And then I don't know if Joe Rogan's ever had a break. I don't think it sounds like he's ever done anything.
He doesn't actually leave that studio.
He's making so much money. He's like he's making so much cash. Yeah.
He doesn't even need it because he just sits in that studio all day, every day.
Yeah.
But we already talked about one of the tips in terms of when you're uploading them, just put the work into the descriptions, and making sure you put the hashtags in.
Yeah.
That can be done on AI. It can write it for you in 2 seconds, so doesn't even take any time. So, work away.
Sound is definitely something that you really need to try to focus on. I used to do it with just the audio on my phone, and that's fine. 100% will upload, people will listen to it, but just try to like not have any crackles in the background or any noise in the background, because people will forgive a dodgy image, right? They'll say, oh, that's shot on a phone, that's okay, but they won't forgive dodgy sound. If they're having to like listen in to hear it, they will turn off. And there's many different ways. I have this little desk. I don't know if I can like lift it up and show it. Like, I have this little desk here. I think it cost me about £400 or something, or maybe it was around that price. Maybe a little bit more, but it was one of the best investments I ever had. But before that, I had a Zoom recorder, and I traveled all over with a Zoom and a different little mic setup. And also, I've used my earpods, Apple earpods as well. The mic in there is really, really good, whenever you're doing them remotely and things like that. And also even off Zoom. I done a podcast the other day with Seamus Fox, and he ended up, we done this thing called StreamYard. So it's built for podcasts. You log in, the other person logs in, it records it, it mixes it, it does the sound, it does everything for you. And my sound was brilliant. My sound was amazing. So StreamYard's a brilliant platform as well, just to do them in.
Yeah. So like Matthew, like you said, their audio is the big one. Like I've turned off before. You see, I don't know what was happening, but sometimes you're listening to an episode and, you know, what's happening is I think the presenters are getting to, they're moving about a lot and you're hearing all this noise. And then also they're moving their distance from, you know, the mic.
Yeah.
And then the sound is like you're on a bloody roller coaster trying to listen to, you 1 minute you're up, down, and you're like, oh God, no. So when you're recording, like you can get mics for as cheap as anything. You can even get one that hooks in, plugs into your laptop, and you can record from your laptop. You get one that plugs into your phone, you just record from your phone, and just keep it there. And like you say, you know, that's probably the biggest thing to invest in, and you can get that for £100 up to whatever you want, you know.
I tried to get my mom into my therapist ghosted me once. I was like, listen to this, I think you'd enjoy it, you know, you would enjoy the fun of it. But it was around a time whenever I think Joanne was like operating off like dodgy AirPods. They were the cheap ones, and it was playing through Alexa, and it was like that, in, out, and my mom said, Matthew, I could not listen to that, turn that off. I said, get that off.
Know.
I was like, okay, no worries. And I understood what she meant, because you couldn't, it wasn't professionally recorded. The sound was really, really bad. And whenever it was through the Alexa, it was even worse. It was like so bad, you know. But play around with it. There's loads of YouTube tutorial videos on how to set up podcasts from people that have just done dedicated like 7 to 10 minute videos. That's what I done. That's how I ended up buying this. I asked, even Yusuf helped me out with this, and then Jonathan did.
I know, but the mixing desk is probably one that's not needed initially. You know, it is brilliant and we use it, but you know, you probably don't need it if you just want to get started and start.
You really don't.
You know, but like the what is it? Those Go Road wireless mics, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
They're like £170, and all you need then is the mic and your phone or your laptop. And then lights, and if you want, you don't necessarily need lights, but it does just help if you are doing video. But just get a ring light, you know, just something to like show.
Like there's a bag of lights, right? There's 2 lights in a bag. Travel, I talk about them all the time. They're £69 or £70 sterling. Daniel got a set the other day. He was filming with Catherine, just got them posted to her house. I got a set posted to this house before I came. We have them all the time. There's a few bags of them hanging around in Ireland, because I'm always getting bags ordered and just getting them sent to places. If I'm going, they're £70. You know, these will do me for the whole time that I'm here. So if you think about it, okay, I've spent about 300 or 400. I've spent probably about £600 on my setup, but that's £600 to run a business. Like, and then I have got exposure to the whole world, talking about whatever I want.
Yeah.
You know. So don't look at it as like a really big investment. Look at it as like it's a really cheap investment actually, because over the long time scale of it, because YouTube's free, Spotify's free, you know, everything else is free.
Yeah. The other one more thing is get like if you're recording it on your phone, get like a wee mobile phone tripod so that you can position, you know, so that it's holding your phone for you, and you can get a nice angle and it'll just stay like that so it's not shaking around. So honestly, like if you're recording on your phone, you've got it's just you've got your phone, you got your Go Road mic, wireless mics, you got a tripod for your phone, and you got a wee ring light. You could get all of that for under £200.
Yeah. £200, you can have like your own media company online, giving out the news. You could be reporting on the news, you know.
Do you ever watch, I'm glad, do you ever watch, you know, like some of the shows on TV, and then they've got people dialing in, but especially in lockdown, and they've got like a reporter or something from home whenever all that was going on. I was like, how's your quality so bad? How is that so poor?
That was all done on Zoom. But the thing is, we're on Zoom talking, we're on our cameras here. The quality only comes from your mic.
Yeah.
That's where people judge quality on. See, if his mic and his sound had been perfect, you wouldn't even have noticed that he was in his house with dodgy lighting. You wouldn't have. I'm telling you now, it's like psychologically, and I learned that from like filmmaking. Anytime. And even now, see listening to Naomi channel, I love her episodes, but see whenever she goes into like a police recording interview and it's from like 1989 and you can't hardly hear it, I just turned off. I'm like,
see,
what is the point in listening to this? Because you've just filled this episode with 25 minutes of stuff that I'm struggling to hear.
See, now you're saying that. That's why you've turned off. It's nothing to do with how depressed it was.
She's doing more of that, is she?
Yeah.
I know.
Because I felt the same.
Yeah, I'm over it. I can't be bothered. Like, and you know, I have to like be open-minded at times because I have put stuff out that the sound wasn't the best, but it's very rare. It's extremely rare because I understand that that's why people turn off. It's why I turn off. I learned that, as I say, from film. Like the people, you could have, like look at Blair Witch Project, right? It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. Most of the like images is of the ground or running through a thing. Like it's a really dodgy image the whole way through. It's all shot on a camcorder. But if you listen to the sound of the people talking, if you listen to the sound design of the movie, you know, the background noises, the creaking going through the woods, the walking on the stuff, like the sound design made that film. Yeah. You know, because outside it was pitched as found footage. You know, it was the best sound quality found footage movie that I had ever seen. But you know, but if you look at their budget and how much money they put into post production, you know, it was millions and millions. You know.
It does make sense. It does. Like, I'm with you. So if you take nothing away from this, it's the sound.
Yeah, that's it. But I think we've kept you long enough now, so you can kind of wrap up.
So for anyone out there who's thought about it or never thought about it before, if you have a business and you want more reach, podcast is definitely an option for you. It also, it's not just about the reach, it's also about giving you additional content that you don't even have to think about because it's already created. So why not give it a go?
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.